Okay, so this one was prompted by a little conversation that I've been having online at Social Galactic with, it's at Catholic Deacon, but calls himself Padre Gio. And he's an imposter, a fake cleric, a fake clergy. But he started out, in what you would think, if you didn't know better, that was an approach to like, oh, I'm really interested, and it sounds like you're saying that I might not be valid clergy, what do you think? Sort of as, I just want to engage and I want to know. And I could tell right from the outset that the chances were that he was just an imposter faking posturing. But I thought, no, let him think that he's getting his way. So I just played nice. And I was like, well, I really hope that you're really going to look into this and look into canon law and so on, blah, blah, blah. And it took a little while, but, because I wouldn't let it go. He went silent for a week or two, and then I said, well, have you had a chance now to review canon law of 1917, the only valid canon law, and so on? And slowly he eked out and he goes, oh, but, well, you said that all the documents of Vatican II are heretical, but the one on, I might have it here. Yeah, Inter Mirifica, which was one of the first ones, which relates to how the papacy and Catholicism uses mass media in the modern world. This came out in December of 1963, so it was one of the first ones to come out. So there's nothing in there that's heretical, and I still need to go through it in detail. I've quickly skimmed over it, and on a first skim, it's true that there doesn't appear to be outright heresy in this particular document. But that's because you have to understand how these people operate, basically how Protestantism operated from the beginning and what they've been doing ever since, which, they've only got like a few arrows in their quiver, and they're always the same ones. It's conflate different ideas, mix them together, make it foggy, and just blah. Conflate, use sophistry, which is basically the use of language and words to try and change their meanings and try and change what they're saying, and essentially dishonestly presenting a case by using words or language or syntax or grammar even to try and, again, confuse, befuddle, deny, subterfuge, lie. Those are their preferred methods because they're not immediately obvious to everybody. So rhetorical subterfuge, hidden and wrapped into sophistry and conflation of concepts, is basically how they operate. If you want to see a pretty detailed takedown of this sort of thing, if you go to the blog and you look up, it's 1 or 2 posts ago or maybe more, where I basically take down John Salza. John Salza is a Freemason. He's not a Catholic, but he's one of these people like this Padre Gio that pretends to be Catholic. And like this Padre Gio pretends to be a Catholic deacon. Well, he's no such thing. He's not Catholic at all. So after he said that, I said, well, I don't know. I need to look into it into more detail. And like I said, at first glance, it looks like there is no heresy in it, but you have to understand why. Because it's the context. The context of this is that they want to put it in such a way that the first little stone doesn't set off any alarm bells, and by the time the 10th stone is rolling downhill, that first little stone actually becomes more of a problem too. You just didn't realize why at the beginning. Because while on its own Inter Mirifica potentially could be acceptable, when you mix it in with all the other Vatican II stuff, what it's essentially doing is saying, yeah, we're just going to use the mass media to promote and spread this bunch of filthy lies. So while on its own in isolation it might be okay, when you wrap it into the context of Vatican II, it's an absolute disgrace because it is being applied to those false doctrines and to promulgate them further. So my next question, of course, was, okay, let's say that you're right. Let's say that one isn't heretical. Which one of the other 15 documents do you think is? Of the remaining 15 documents, which group are you saying is? Which two? Which three? Which one? And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, he would not speak out against a single one of the documents of Vatican II, proving that he is a heretic, proving that he's just trying to defend the narrative. And then, of course, immediately, because these people are not smart, we know they're not smart, because if they were, they would be picking the other side. So they're never going to be as intelligent as the ones of us that are actual Christians. And it's always the same lie. It's always the same conflated bullshit. Always the same. And the main point is they try and deny that Canon 188 Part 4 says exactly what it says. Turns, you don't recognize the Pope, you're a schismatic. He's not a Pope. He is not a Pope. Canon 188 Part 4. You don't have the right to decide who's Pope. I'm not deciding who's Pope. The magisterium of the church, which is the only people that have the right to decide who's Pope, have decided who's Pope. And he's not it. Bergoglio is not a Pope. John Paul II, not a Pope. That they shouldn't even be called by their popish names, because they're fake. Montini, who wanted to be Paul VI or whatever, no. Montini, fake Pope, not a Pope. Why? Very simple. Canon 188, Part 4. When you promulgate and promote and teach heresy continually for a period of 6 months, publicly, as a public heretic, after 6 months, and you have not repented, after 6 months of doing that, you have not repented, Canon 188, Part 4 comes into effect. And what does it say? You vacate your office immediately, instantly, without any pronouncement by anybody. You are convicted by the law itself, which means that the actual canon law convicts you. That's it. End of. Nobody needs to say a damn thing. You are a heretic. And that applies to this Catholic deacon, Padre Gio. He is a filthy heretic. And there is no question now that he was ignorant in any way, shape, or form, because I've educated him. I've told him exactly where to go and look. I've told him which canon law to go and look. I've told him where the books are. So he has no excuse. And he's proven that he has no excuse. And it was never intended to be anything other than what it is: subterfuge and sabotage. How was he intending to sabotage? He was intending to sabotage by sowing doubt in the people that read my comments or read my blog or listen to the videos. And how was he doing that? By asking what he thought were very clever sophistry, very clever little questions that he thought I wouldn't be able to answer directly and very clearly. He picked the wrong guy, didn't he? He went up against the Kurgan thinking that I'm a little bit confused about, but no, maybe Bergoglio might be the... Nah, fuck you. And here's what I want to tell all of you that are actual Catholics or that want to be Catholics or that, are cradle Catholics and are just waking up. If you're ignorant because of ignorance, that's not your fault necessarily. But after you've been presented with all the information, you still refuted, you still refused, you're willfully ignorant. And you have no logical argument, because not a single person has come out with a logical argument against the things I've put in the blog, in writing. Yeah, none. There is no argument. I've even had a boomer who was convinced I was a total idiot admit privately to me that actually he doesn't have an argument. He just doesn't like my style. Well, guess what? My style is on purpose. I want to bug you. I want to get right up under your skin and make it feel like it's crawling with vermin. Why? Because you need cattle prods to move cattle. And I urge all of you Catholics to do the same to the fake clergy of the Novus Ordo. Go question them. Go question those priests. Ask them, why are you a heretic? Why are you a fake priest? Why are you pretending to be Catholic when you obviously are supporting a heretic? Not just Bergoglio, but Ratzinger. Call them out. The only reason the Vatican II happened is because the larval sacks that pretended to be Catholic priests were just always assumed to have the dignity and respect of the station, which is all well and good if they actually were Catholics, but they weren't. And what was demonstrated was that they had their ass in butter and they were feeding off the hind tit and the front tit and the middle tit of the actual believers who, perhaps not schooled, perhaps not very well educated, just believed, oh well, he's the priest, he's telling me the truth. Oh well, he's the bishop, he's telling me the truth. Now, you gotta question these motherfuckers. Question every single one of them. And I'm not talking just about the Novus Ordo. I'm talking about the actual real ones. Because we know very well, and some of you know what I'm talking about, there are actual bishops out there, valid bishops, actual Catholic bishops, that nevertheless are ignoring canon law for their own selfish, egocentric reasons. And it goes beyond just, trying to be effective. I can excuse a priest who, in order to spread the gospel or get more people saved or give sacraments to more genuine Catholics, maybe cuts a corner here and there. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that I could turn a blind eye to. But when that same priest or bishop, particularly bishops, do that sort of shit, and it's got nothing to do with helping save souls, but rather to, centralize their own power, then that's a no-no, and you got to call them out. It doesn't matter if he's a valid bishop. Call him out to his face. Tell him, hey, you're a fraud. You're a thief. You're doing this because what? And it's absolutely important, because you have to remember, a bishop is supposed to be there as a guide. It's supposed to be the apostolic succession of Peter. Any bishop is supposedly has got an apostolic succession. So they're supposedly very important people. But we have seen, absolutely been proven without a shadow of a doubt in Vatican II, that the vast majority of these fat larval grubs just sitting there eating off other people and have absolutely no intention of protecting the faith. Now, it does need to be said that the bishops and priests that we have now that are remaining, the remnant of real Catholic bishops and priests, they're a different species. I mean, these guys are not operating, generally speaking, under a lot of power, money, or influence. They are trying to keep the faith alive. And most of them don't really want to become bishops because it's like a lot of responsibility, a lot of work, for very little return, if you like, certainly in worldly terms. There is, of course, an exception in America. You all know who I'm referring to. I won't name him to strangers, but, those of you who know. And those of you who won't know, who don't know yet, will find out in due course. You have to always differentiate. I owe a debt of gratitude to Professor Rodney Stark, apart from the fact that his latest book that I read, How the West Won, is absolutely, it should be required reading. I mean, it's a brilliant history book. I'm going to put a link below the video. And it corrects so much wrong history that I had no idea was wrong, And fascinating, really fascinating, well written. Not, it's not like with a stodgy, boring history book. It's brilliantly written. But I owe him another debt of gratitude, because he has differentiated in his books, and he's done it in a couple of them at least, between the Church of Power and the Church of Piety. Now, in theory, the Catholic Church should all be the Church of Piety. In reality and in practice, and this is what the Protestants, throw up against the wall hoping it sticks, there is very much an element of the Church of the Catholic Church that was concerned with personal power, with just power over people, power over money, power over land. And that's human nature. You always have to guard against these power-hungry clergy, and you've got to castigate them. You've got to call them out. You mustn't be scared. Just because, he's a bishop, so he's got the power of sacraments. Fuck that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The truth matters. God matters. Jesus matters. A bishop that's trying to abuse his authority? Nah, call him out on it. Call him out on it. And if he denies you the sacrament, don't worry about it. There are real priests out there that will give you the sacraments. And I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm one of those people. Don't stress about it. There are, real Catholic clergy. They understand. They will admonish you. They will tell you when you're doing wrong. And you've got to take your stripes if you're doing wrong shit. But when it comes to clergy abusing their power, do not be silent. And all you cradle Catholics that are like, but is Bergoglio the Pope? Is he not the Pope? Educate yourselves and then become militant. Absolutely become militant. I'm not in your situation. I'm not in your position. I was never a cradle Catholic. I was nothing. I absolutely abhorred the Catholic religion. I thought it was absolute nonsense for retards. So I'm not one of you. But if I'd been a cradle Catholic all my life, you bet your ass, I'd be knocking on every church door that has been usurped by the Norcos, and I'd be in there grabbing the priest by the scruff of his neck, probably, you know? Don't go assaulting people now, but I'm just saying. I'd be like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Get out. Get out. You're not a priest. You're a thief. I'd be in their face. And so you should be, you know, be polite, be your nature. My nature is different from most people's, but, you know, if you're a polite, healthy guy, and I've done that. I've done that to a priest that I thought was a pretty decent human being. I was like, you know, you're wrong, dude. And so I bought him from the Mater Boni Concilia, I bought him a physical copy of a brief, it's called a brief criticism, I think, of the Novus Ordo Mass. You know, they call it Novus Ordo, but we know what we really mean, Novus Ordo Mass. And I gave it to him with a little note, handwritten little note in it. I said, you know, you've been a cool guy, you've been helpful to me, but, you know, this is the truth. And, you know, he wouldn't speak to me after that. But so what? Let him take the hit. Let them feel the heat. Let them know their lies, you've had enough. You know, let them know. That's all you need to do. Put sunlight on these people. They can't take it. They cannot take it. Shine lights on them. And, you know, you think, oh, but I'm just one guy. I'm just one guy. I'm just one guy. Guess what? There's people starting to approach some of this clergy that is not really following the rules from everywhere. It's coming at them from Europe. It's coming at them from America. It's coming at them even from Australia. Okay? I'm getting reports that people are saying to these priests, hey, that Kurgan guy says, you're not doing right. So, they know who I am. And I'm just one guy. So, you people, I'm just one guy and I don't really care. You know, I'm just doing my own thing. I'm not even intentionally necessarily mobilizing people or whatever. I'm doing it because I have to. It's kind of like writing. You know, when I first started writing, it's hell. I didn't want to write. I was like, my God, this is so painful and difficult and hard. And it's like torture, but I have to do it because I've got to get this information out there. This is kind of the same. The truth is the truth. You know, I'm much more, rather than do videos, I'm much more happily read a book or, you know, do something else or whatever. But this is important. So you guys take note and be part of the army. You know, be part of the army. We are a church militant for a reason. Let these imposters, these fakers know that their time is up. You want some pedophile like pretending to be a priest in your church? That church belongs to the Catholic Church. It got stolen by these imposters, these frauds. It's at Catholic Deacon Padre Gio. Be in their face. And if there's 1 or 2 or 10 of you, better. Get 20 of you and go to the priest and say, and now what have you got to tell us? What are your lies going to amount to? Here's the book of Canon law. Here, prove to me where it's wrong. Oh, but the Canon law of 1983, it's fake, bullshit. Because it got created by the same fakers like yourself. Get out of here. You don't belong here. This is not your church. Leave. You know, you could make the argument that a few seminarians or priests or whatever don't know any better. They just got like indoctrinated straight into it. But then, you know, their crime is criminal stupidity, criminal negligence. You're going to be a priest and you don't know about Vatican II and you don't look into it. I'm a layman, for God's sake. I'm a layman that had a, you know, road to Damascus moment. And I went looking into it. I figured it out. It's not that difficult. And I'm giving you guys all the details so you don't have to like figure it out blind like I did. You know, and I figured it out blind and I came to the right conclusion. And then I thought, but surely I can't be the only guy that figured this out. So then I started looking for other people that had figured it out. And lo and behold, there was plenty of them. I just didn't know where to look before. Because because I didn't know, the canon law or whatever. Once I figured out, hey, I got up to Canon 188 part 4, and then I tried to look at the rest, and I read the whole thing, and I was like, oh, but shit, this means these people are fakers. I mean, let me go and find out. Well, Canon 188 part 4, and I started to Google that, and well, there you go. Then you find all sorts of people, So it's not difficult. But you gotta call them out. Don't be shy, don't be scared, To overturn just the way they infiltrated by subterfuge. We don't need to have subterfuge. We've got sunlight, truth, and God on our side. That's all we need. Confront them. Make them feel ashamed every time. And go there, go to their fake mass. Go to their fake mass, and before you tell them you're going to do a fake mass, you're a liar, you're a thief, you're a fraud. But I'll stand here and I'll be witness to what you're doing. Disturb them. Make their work difficult. They're lying and denying the truth to millions and millions of people. They're not clergy. If they're any kind of clergy, they're clergy to Moloch. They're certainly not clergy to Jesus Christ. So don't take any prisoners. And you don't have to be rude, or certainly you don't have to be violent. You can be polite and very effective. Just keep hammering that nail on the head. Never give up, never stop. So that's it. That's my message for today. And another thing, two things actually. Those of you that know Crypto Fashion, they sell some awesome t-shirts. Go help them out. I don't make a penny out of it. Even if you buy the Kurgan t-shirts, they do some t-shirts specifically for me, which basically say Catholic, not Novus Ordo, and it's got the hat of Pope Urban II. It's a brilliant t-shirt. I love it. So don't be shy. Go and buy from those guys, because they're good guys, and one of them has had a really, really rough year and a half, 2 years or so, and he's doing his best, and he's trying to keep his business going and so on under very difficult conditions. The business is going to keep going, but he might have to get another job or whatever, and his health is not great because, like I said, he's had a tough year. So help them out if you want to throw some money at a good cause. They make really good quality shirts. I've got a few of them. Vox gave me a couple. I bought a couple. Some of the bears and some of the Immortal bears got a few. They when I went to see Owen in the States, we had a couple of shirts or whatever. We gave some away. Some people bought some. I don't even know the whole story. It was just a bit of a impromptu thing, but yeah. So Crypto Fashion. And the other thing, and again, I'm not associated to them in any way, is if you want a hardcore rosary that lasts quite a while, I've just ordered myself one, because I gave the one that I had, I gave it to Immortal Bear for all his work and all his help. So I ordered myself another one, pretty much identical to the one I gave him. And they're really cool because they're made out of paracord, and you can choose different crucifixes and different beads and whatever. And man, let me tell you, there's nothing quite as powerful as praying the rosary. It's just something that until you do it, you don't understand how it could possibly work at all. All right? And I'm saying that as after being baptized, I still thought that way. But you do the rosary, you keep praying the rosary, and I'm telling you, it just affects things. I can't explain how, it's a supernatural thing, but it's not blind faith. Trust me, I'm very scientific in my approach to prayer and Christianity and Catholicism especially. So yeah, that's my message for today. I'm over 20 minutes already, and I got stuff to do. So good night. Remember, don't let them get away with it. Put them in the corner. Make them face the truth. Make them face the truth. These fake clerics, this fake clergy, these frauds, imposters. Don't stand for it. And it doesn't matter, whether they're the fake Novus Ordo, or whether they're an actual Catholic priest that's abusing his power, or a Catholic bishop that's abusing his power. Tell him. Say, I'm not going to give you a cent. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to do anything until you repent. Until you publicly repent your public sin. Because, if it's a private sin, if they've done a sin of pride or whatever privately, that's one thing. But if they've publicly made a sin of pride and ego and being the church of power, then they need to do a public apology. That's the only remedy to it. There's no other way around it. So, yeah, that's basically it. Good night.